The Forbidden Zone Captain Vextar of the Zephyrian Empire stared at the star charts with growing frustration. For 300 years, his people had conquered system after system, bending entire species to their will. Yet one region remained, untouched, marked in ancient texts as the Dead Zone. "Sir, the Council grows impatient," his Lieutenant Crixel reported, his scaled hide rippling with nervous energy. "They demand to know why we avoid the outer spiral arm." Vextar's 4 eyes narrowed. The stories were old, passed down through generations of spacefaring races. Humans, they called them. A species so violent, so unpredictable, that they had quarantined themselves from galactic civilization. Most believed them extinct or mythical. "Prepare the fleet," Vextar commanded. 800 vessels. We end this mystery today. A massive armada moved through hyperspace, their destination a small yellow star system marked only as Sol in the ancient databases. Vextar had studied every fragment of human lore. They were said to be soft-bodied bipeds who fought with primitive chemical, explosives and metal projectiles. Hardly a threat to his empire's quantum weaponry dot as they dropped out of hyperspace at the system's edge. Silence fell across the bridge. Space seemed empty, peaceful. No defensive fleets, no warning beacons. Just 9 small worlds orbiting there. Parent star. "Scans show minimal technology," reported the sensor operator. "Some orbital structures around the 3rd planet, but nothing threatening." Vextar smiled, revealing rows of crystalline teeth. "The humans are either gone or hiding. Begin planetary bombardment protocols." That's when the first ship vanished. Not destroyed, not damaged, simply gone. One moment the destroyer was there, the next it had ceased to exist entirely. No explosion, no debris, not even a ripple in space-time. What happened to the vengeful claw? Vextar roared. Before anyone could answer, space began to crack. Reality itself seemed to fold as vessels emerged from impossible angles. These weren't ships in any conventional sense. They looked grown rather than built, their hulls a seamless blend of metal and something that might have been alive. A transmission crackled across all frequencies, spoken in perfect Zephyrian. "Attention, Zephyrian. Fleet, you have entered quarantined space. Turn back now." The voice belonged to a creature that appeared on their screen's pale skin, forward-facing eyes, and an unsettling expression that might have been a smile. "A human? Impossible," Vextar whispered. "Your myths, stories to frighten younglings." "The human's smile widened. "We prefer it that way. It's safer for everyone. You have 30 seconds to reverse course." Vextar's pride flared. "We are the Zephyrian Empire. We bow to no one." He turned to his weapons officer. "All ships open fire." 800 vessels unleashed hell itself upon the human fleet. The awakening, the Zephyrian barrage, lit up space like a newborn star. Plasma, cannons, antimatter torpedoes, and gravitational disruptors, weapons that had shattered planets, converged on the human ships. Vextar watched the display with savage satisfaction, already planning victory celebrations. Then the light faded, and the human vessels remained untouched. "Impossible," breathed Crixal. "Our sensors show direct hits." The human on the screen shook his head sadly. "We tried to warn you. My name is Commander Jake Morrison, representing Earth's defense network. What you just witnessed was our passive defense grid." Morrison gestured, and the tactical display showed the truth. The human ships existed in folded spacetime, occupying the gaps between dimensions. The Zephyrian weapons had passed through them like light through glass. "Now it's our turn," Morrison said quietly. The lead human vessel, a scarred leviathan covered in strange markings, fired a single projectile. Not energy, not plasma, but what appeared to be a simple metal slug. Vextar almost laughed until his science officer screamed. "Captain, That projectile is accelerated to 97% light speed. It's carrying the kinetic energy of a small moon. The slug struck the Zephyrian flagship Dominator. The massive dreadnought didn't explode, simply ceased. The projectile had compressed its matter so densely that it collapsed into a miniature black hole, taking half the surrounding fleet with it. Kinetic bombardment, Morrison explained conversationally. We perfected it during our civil wars. Amazing. What you can accomplish when you turn physics into a weapon. Other human ships began firing. One launched what looked like ancient chemical rockets, their warheads detonating in brilliant flashes. Where the light touched, Zephyrian vessels aged. 10,000 years in seconds, their crews becoming dust, their hulls crumbling to cosmic debris. Temporal acceleration bombs, Morrison continued. We discovered how to weaponize time itself during our quantum research phase. A third human ship deployed something even more terrifying, a device that simply erased sections of space. Zephyrian. Vessels caught in its field didn't die. They never had existed in the first place. Reality rewrote itself around their absence. Existence deletion, Morrison said, his voice growing cold. We developed that after we learned to manipulate the quantum foam that underlies all matter. Vextar's fleet was being systematically dismantled by weapons that violated everything. He understood about war. These weren't just advanced technologies. They were applications of physics that should have been impossible. What are you? He transmitted desperately. Morrison's expression hardened. We're what happens when a violent species gets really, really good at being violent. Every war we fought taught us something new. Every conflict pushed us further. We weaponized our own star, turned our moon into a fortress, and made our asteroid belt into the galaxy's largest minefield. On cue, space around the Zephyrian fleet began to glitter. Millions of objects, previously invisible, suddenly activated. The asteroid belt wasn't just fortified, it was alive with automated weapons platforms, each one capable of cracking a planet. 300 years ago, we realized something important, Morrison continued. We were too dangerous for civilized space. The price of war. The human commander's words echoed across the dying Zephyrian fleet as automated weapons platforms emerged from the asteroid field like awakening giants. Each platform was larger than a Zephyrian battleship, their surfaces covered in weapon systems that defied conventional understanding. You want to know what we are? Morrison continued, his image flickering as quantum interference from the weapons platforms created static. We're the species that learned to make black holes portable. We're the ones who figured out how to store the energy of supernovas in devices small enough to carry. Vextar watched in horror as his remaining ships were systematically destroyed by weapons that seemed almost casual in their application. A Zephyrian cruiser was caught in a localized time loop, forced to experience its destruction over and over again. Another was translated into a parallel dimension where physics worked differently. Its crew suffocated as their oxygen turned to liquid nitrogen. Sir, Crixel whispered, his voice broken, we've lost 600 ships in less than 10 minutes. The most terrifying aspect wasn't the destruction, it was the precision. The humans weren't massacring them in rage. They were dissecting the fleet with clinical efficiency, like a scientist studying insects. Every species thinks they're the apex predator, Morrison said, directing his words specifically at Vextar. Your empire has conquered 47 civilizations. Impressive. We conquered ourselves 17 times during our development phase. We had nuclear weapons before we had spaceflight. We developed biological warfare while we were still learning to farm. A new type of human ship emerged from behind Earth's moon massive, ancient, its hull scarred by weapons that no longer existed. Along its sides, Vextar could see markings, tally marks. Thousands of them. That's the U East, Prometheus, Morrison explained, following Vextar's gaze. our first deep space vessel. Each mark represents a species that found our space and decided to attack. Each mark is a reminder of why we chose isolation. The Prometheus fired once, a beam of pure energy that didn't destroy its target but transformed it. The Zephyrian dreadnought Iron Fist began to change, its molecular structure altering until it became something that was part ship, part organism. Its crew's screams changed pitch as they were absorbed into the vessel's new biology. Molecular reconstitution, Morrison said matter-of-factly. We learned it from studying how viruses reprogram cells. We applied it to entire spacecraft. Vextar realized with growing horror that every weapon the humans deployed told a story of their development. They hadn't just invented tools of war, they had transformed every scientific discovery into a potential weapon. Their entire civilization was built on the principle that anything could be weaponized if you thought about it hard enough. Please, Vextar transmitted, his pride finally breaking. We surrender. We'll leave your space and never return. Morrison's expression didn't change. You don't understand. There is no leaving. Every species that finds us faces the same choice we faced 3 centuries ago. What choice? Whether the galaxy is safer with us hidden or with potential threats eliminated. Morrison paused, his next words carrying the weight of centuries. Your empire sent 800 ships to conquer a myth. That tells us everything. We need to know about your intentions. The remaining human ships began to converge on Vextar's position, their impossible weapons charging with energies that made space itself ripple. In the distance, Earth began to glow as planetary defense systems that had slumbered for centuries slowly awakened. Truth revealed. Convergence of human ships created a phenomenon Vextar had never witnessed. Space itself began to sing. The quantum fields generated by their exotic propulsion. Systems harmonized into a frequency that bypassed the ears and spoke directly to the soul. It was beautiful and terrifying, like hearing the universe's death song. You're wondering why we don't simply let you leave, Morrison said, his image now accompanied by holographic displays showing the true scope of human space. What Vextar had thought was a single system was actually a vast network of hidden installations spanning dozens of star systems, all cloaked by technology that bent light and gravity. Your empire's databases contain references to us, Morrison continued. 47 species you've conquered, and 31 of them had legends about humans. Do you know what that tells us? Vextar's remaining science officers were frantically scanning the human vessels, trying to understand their technology. What they found defied explanation. The ships weren't just advanced, they existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Their weapons drawing power from sources that included parallel universes and captured stellar cores. It tells us that knowledge of our existence is spreading despite our efforts at containment. Morrison answered his own question. Every few decades, someone finds us. Explorers, pirates, archaeologists, or conquest fleets like yours. We let the explorers and archaeologists leave with their memories modified. Pirates ... Well, pirates tend to disappear entirely. One of the human ships, a sleek vessel that seemed to phase in and out of reality, moved closer to Vextar's flagship. As it approached, the Zephyrian instruments began showing impossible readings. The ship was somehow existing in the past, present, and future simultaneously. Conquest fleets present a special problem, Morrison continued. You represent governments, militaries, civilizations that will notice when you don't return. So we have to make a choice. Do we reveal ourselves to your entire empire, or do we ensure the secret dies with you? What happened to the others? Vextar asked, though he dreaded the answer. Morrison's expression grew distant. The hegemony of worlds and 1,200 ships 2 centuries ago. We gave them the same choice we're giving you. They chose poorly. Their empire still exists, but they now believe humans are a myth again. Amazing what you can accomplish when you can selectively edit memories across an entire civilization. The holographic display shifted, showing images that made Vexstar's crew recoil. Massive human installations built inside hollowed-out planets. Artificial stars created to power weapons that could sterilize entire galaxy arms and ships the size of moons equipped with devices that could rewrite the laws of physics in localized areas. "We didn't start as monsters," Morrison said quietly. "We started as explorers, dreamers, scientists. But every conflict taught us that survival meant being willing to go further than anyone else. We learned to think thoughts that would drive other species insane. We pursued sciences that others considered forbidden." The phasing ship was now close enough that Vexstar could see through its translucent hull. Inside, he glimpsed figures that might once have been human, but were now something else, beings of pure energy contained within mechanical shells. Their consciousness expanded beyond biological limitations. "Some of us evolved beyond physical, formed during our research into consciousness transfer," Morrison explained, following Vexstar's gaze. "Others merged with our artificial intelligences to become hybrid beings. A few experimented with quantum consciousness and learned to exist in multiple realities simultaneously." "What do you want from us?" Vexstar asked desperately. Morrison's smile returned, but now it carried a weight that felt cosmic in scope. "We want what we've always wanted, to be left alone. But since that's apparently impossible, we've developed alternatives. Option 1. Your empire forgets this encounter ever happened, and we modify your databases to make human space appear as a natural hazard zone. Option 2. We ensure the galaxy understands why human space is forbidden." The human fleet began to pulse with synchronized energy, their weapon systems charging with power drawn from sources Vexstar couldn't comprehend. In the distance, he could see Earth itself beginning to glow as planetary weapons that could crack moons swiveled toward his position. The choice of titans, the synchronized pulsing of the human fleet, created ripples in space-time itself, and Vexstar realized he was witnessing the charging of weapons that could rewrite reality. Each human ship was drawing power from different sources. Some tapped directly into their star, others pulled energy from parallel dimensions, and the largest vessels seemed to be siphoning power from the quantum vacuum itself. "Time to choose, Captain Vexstar," Morrison said, his image now surrounded by data streams showing the complete scope of human civilization. Hidden colonies in pocket dimensions, research stations built inside artificial black holes, and fleets of ships that existed only as probability clouds until needed. "Your databases show that your empire values strength above all else," Morrison continued. "You respect power and despise weakness. So let us show you what 3 centuries of self-imposed evolution has created." The space around Earth began to transform. What Vexstar had thought was empty void revealed itself to be filled with constructs that defied comprehension. Artificial structures the size of continents hung in space, their purposes unclear, but their energy signatures indicating power levels that could fuel entire civilizations. "We've had 300 years to prepare for this conversation," Morrison explained. 300 years to decide what we would do when the galaxy inevitably found us again. Some of us argued for complete isolation, leaving this reality entirely. Others wanted to reveal ourselves gradually, help guide younger civilizations away from our mistakes. The Prometheus, the ancient scarred vessel, moved closer to Vexstar's position. Up close, he could see that its hull wasn't just marked with tally marks. It was covered in memorials. Names, dates, entire civilizations reduced to small plaques on the ship's surface. "But then we realized something important," Morrison continued, his voice carrying a sadness older than some stars. "Every species that finds us does so because they're actively looking for something to conquer. Explorers follow established trade, Routes. Scientists send probes. But conquest fleets? They only come here if they've already decided our space belongs to them. A new type of human ship emerged from behind Jupiter, something that seemed to be built from crystallized space-time itself. As it moved, it left trails of distorted reality behind it, areas where the laws of physics had been fundamentally altered. That ship, Morrison said, noticing Vextar's attention, is our latest creation. It doesn't fire weapons, it edits the universe. It can make it so your empire never discovered space travel, or ensure that your homeworld was never habitable to begin with. The weight of that statement settled over Vextar like a physical force. These humans hadn't just mastered technology, they had learned to manipulate the fundamental structure of existence itself. So here's your choice, Morrison said, his image flickering as multiple versions of himself spoke in perfect synchronization past Morrison, present Morrison, and future Morrison, all speaking as one. Option 1, your fleet disappears. Your empire forgets you ever left. Human space becomes a natural hazard in your star charts, something to be avoided but not questioned. The human fleet moved into final attack positions, their weapons now fully charged with energies that made local space glow with colors that had no names. Option 2, we reveal ourselves to your empire completely. We show them what we've become, what we're capable of, and why human space was forbidden. Your people learn that the universe contains predators so advanced that they chose to quarantine themselves rather than risk consuming everything that exists. Vextar looked at his remaining ships, less than 50 vessels from the mighty fleet that had entered this system. His crew waited for orders that could determine the fate of their entire civilization. There is a third option, Morrison added quietly. You can join us. Abandon your empire, your old life, and help us maintain the quarantine. Some have chosen this path. They guard the borders of human space, ensuring that no one else makes the mistake you made today. In the view screen, Vextar could see human figures moving within their ships, but they weren't entirely human anymore. Evolution, genetic modification, technological integration, and sheer time had transformed them into something that remained recognizably human while becoming something infinitely more. What will it be, Captain? Morrison asked. Forgetfulness, revelation, or transformation? The human fleet waited, patient as stars, for an answer that would echo across the galaxy.